My investor friends, what if I told you that your first rental property is probably not going to make you rich? Nope, not at all. Even your second one probably won't. Maybe even your third. I am still waiting for that feeling of richness. But something interesting does happen when you start stacking properties. The rent from one property helps you buy the next. The equity from several properties gives you more borrowing power. Your tenants are paying down your mortgages. Your rents increase over time. And suddenly, you are no longer trying to buy one rental property. You are building a machine that helps you buy the next rental and the next and the next. That, my friends, is the snowball effect of real estate investing. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, how you can accelerate it, and most importantly, why some investors get stuck after buying 2 or 3 properties while others continue to scale. Because there is a mistake I see all the time. People think scaling means simply buying more houses. It is not true. Scaling means making each property you own help you acquire the next one. On my computer, I'm going to show you a simple example of how someone can go from one rental property to a portfolio of 5 properties without needing to save another massive down payment from scratch every single time. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, if you don't know me or are new to my channel, my name is Vikram Chopra. I was an investment banker turned broker in the Greater Charlotte metropolitan area, where I invest and assist other investors reach their financial goals through real estate investing. The 4 engines of the snowball. Real estate snowball is powered by 4 major engines. And if you understand these 4 engines, you understand why real estate can compound over long periods. What are these engines? I'll tell you. These engines are cash flow, principal pay down, appreciation, and the ability to reinvest the money. Let's look at a property that I own. By the way, if you're a beginner or an investor and are looking for guidance on how to get started in real estate investing, feel free to book a 20-minute phone call with me. Link below in the description.
The first engine in our snowball business is called the cash flow engine. I am going to show you how that works. I will take a property, which is this one over here. The monthly payment is $1303, but I always pay a little bit extra. I pay $47 extra. As you can see from the paid last statement, it's $1350. And year-to-date payment is $9,450. Why is it important to pay a little extra? Because number one, the tenant is paying me an extra rent, so I don't mind paying that extra rent over to the mortgage company. There's nothing wrong in that. And second, there is leverage. I can do it. Let me show you the rent that I receive for this apartment. Hold on. This is Turbo Tenant. This is the software that I use. I use a free version. You can use whatever you have to use, no problem there. If you look here, the lady has been paying me on the first of every month, and she pays $1,800, which is what I like. I would love a late fee, but if the tenant is paying on time, that's still okay. But I definitely appreciate a $50-$60 late fee. I can use that money somewhere else. Let's do some math now. Let me open a calculator so that I can show you a few numbers. I open on the calculator. The rent is $1,800, as you can see that the lady has been paying out. Minus $1,350 is what I pay to the mortgage company. Minus $250. $250 is the HOA fee. I don't have the billing document for HOA, but $250 is the HOA fee that I pay every month. And so my cash flow is just $200. It's not a lot, but it is still $200. What is important is that I'm getting this $200 every month, month after month, because the repairs have been made once. The repairs don't come in at a recurring period. They come in once in a while. Most of the time, there are no repairs for like 6 months straight because the house has been fixed completely. Okay, let's do some more math. So yearly, $200 a month into 12, yearly is $2,400. But we need to keep some money for vacancy and maintenance. Although the house hardly gives me any trouble, but according to the rules, we have to keep some money. 5% vacancy and 8% maintenance. That is 13%. So 0.13 into 1,800 was the rent. $234 every month, but my net cash flow is $200 every month. What I'll do is I'll only keep this for 6 months. The $2,400, I'll divide it by 2. That's my cash flow. What happened to the rest of the money? Well, I kept it in reserve for vacancy and maintenance. If there are no maintenance or vacancy issues, then I'll use that money at a later point of time. But this house gives me $1,200 in cash flow. What is important to note here is that this house I bought was for $140,000, I think. And this was many years ago. Over the years, I've paid and paid and paid. And now there's only a principal of about $19,000 left. Every month, I am making a payment of about $1,000. If I were to do the math again, I have an outstanding principal of 19,000 and I pay almost $1,000 in principal every month. 19 months, that means 1.5 years. In 1.5 years, this house is going to get paid off. When this house gets paid off, which should happen in a year and a half, I'll assume the rent is $1,850 by then because I'll raise it a little bit, minus what is the taxes and insurance? That's $346 minus $346 minus $280 for HOA. That means I will have a net monthly positive cash flow in the amount of $1,200 every month. That is a lot of money compared to the $200 that we're getting right now. That is engine number one, cash flow. Understanding that is very important. That's why you want to hold on to the property for as long as you can, because once the property is paid off, the entire rent that you get is yours except the taxes and insurance and the HOA. That's very important. Wealth engine number one, cash flow. Let's look at engine number two, which is principal pay down. And for that, we'll have to go to mortgage calculator. All right, mortgage calculator, here we come. In here, I'm going to enter some values. I will enter 140,000. That's what I used to pay this house down. I made a 20% down payment when I was buying it for the first time. The interest rate, as we saw from the billing statement here, is 3.375%, and it was a 15-year loan if I remember correctly. Loan term 15 years. Property tax is $1,000 per year. Home insurance is, let me see if I can get that number from here. Not really. Maybe let's just say $80. 80 a month, 18 to 12, that's $960. So let's just make it $1,000. Monthly HOA we know is $250. Loan type is conventional and we are buying it. Calculate. This graph is what I want to show you. Every month, as you can see, the principal is dark blue. Every month the dark blue box is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. At this stage the interest is lower and the principal is getting bigger. As you can see, as the loan pay down happens, more and more of my money is going towards the principal, which is also true when you look at the billing statement. I only pay $55 in interest now. When I started this loan, I'm sure it was not $55. It was significantly more. But now more and more of my money is going towards the principal, and I am paying down the principal as quick as I can, including additional $50 that I pay every month. That's a goal. Also, one more important thing, who is paying for this principal pay down? Not me. It's not coming from my paycheck. It's coming from the tenant's pocket. You need to have a house that is rented at all times. You need to have a positive cash flow, and the money that the tenant pays goes towards the principal pay down. That's very important. There is one more factor that I need to tell you about equity. As the principal is paid off, the equity in the house is increasing. At this stage, I own the whole house. When I bought it, it was $140,000. Now this house is around $340,000. So I have equity of $340,000. We will talk about this equity later on, but that's important to understand that as the principal is paid off, your equity in the house keeps increasing. Eventually, what is going to happen is that this equity that you have built, it's sitting there. What you can do is you can take this money out by refinancing it or doing some other trick and use it as a down payment for the next rental property. That's how your snowball starts getting a little bigger in size. Eventually, we start seeing the magic. That's why it's important to stay in the game. Imagine you buy this house and 2 years later you sell it. Well, what kind of equity was built in the house? Nothing. Even if there was a little bit of equity, that money will go towards the taxes. You don't want to do that. You want to see that magic moments happening. And when does that magic moment happen? When you start at $140,000 a house, which appreciates to $340,000, and the entire house is paid off. There is $340,000 of equity in the house, and you take some money out, not all of it, and use it against a second rental. That's the magic. You have to be in the game for a long period of time to enjoy, to observe, to have fun with that magic. Let's talk about the third snowball wealth engine, which is appreciation. For that, let's go to Zillow. This is the house. As you can see, the current value is $328,000. I'm not saying this is what I'll get when I sell it. By the way, I'm never going to sell it. But I just want to let you know that this is the equity that has been built in the house. The important thing is, look, it has grown by 94% in the last 10 years. I bought this property almost 13-14 years ago. That's a magic. Let me see if I can find something here. I bought it for $150 and now it's at $320. That's the magic. That is what appreciation is all about, the third wealth engine. Important to know that we have to stay in the game for 10, 12, 13, 14 years for you to really see that appreciation taking place. That's important. Also important is where you're buying this property. This is Charlotte. Charlotte is growing so much. It's booming. Property prices are skyrocketing. And they were not like that. As you can see from this house, it was just for 150. But now it has grown up so much. Now there is still opportunities. There is still time that you can buy a property which hasn't appreciated yet, and in the next decade or so it will go through the roof. Let's now talk about the fourth wealth engine in our snowball business, which is reinvestment. How do you take this rental and somehow create another rental out of this one? This is your ability to reinvest. This is where the snowball effect starts to take place. This is where the magic happens. What you do is you take your cash flow, you take your equity, you take your loan pay down, and now your one rental, the very one rental that you have, it starts becoming bigger and bigger. There's money that starts going into it. What do you do with that money? You refinance it. You take that money out and you put it in a second apartment or a second condo or a second house, and now you have two, not just one. Now you have two rental properties. You see how the snowball is starting to take shape. By the way, if you're a beginner or an investor and are looking for some guidance on how to get started in this business of real estate investing, feel free to set up a 20-minute phone call with me. Link is below in the description.
All right, my friends, this is one of the neighborhoods where there are many investment properties that show up. You want a snowball business, my friends? Buy many of these, starting with your first one. While we are here, let's look around. Okay, so here we are. So that's the apartment that you see in front. That's the one that we saw for $123,000. So while we are here looking around, it looks like a decent neighborhood. Mostly blue collar workers, I would say. The roofs look okay, they look new. So that means the HOA won't have any assessment anytime soon. The sidewalks are present as well. So the HOA has done a decent enough job. I feel completely safe. I've been standing here, no problems. Nobody has said anything to me. I can't say much about traffic because traffic is bad throughout all of Charlotte. This town is really booming. There are enough parks and trails around here for a comfortable weekend, not to mention the tons of restaurants that are there in this town and nearby also. Oh look, there's a street light also. That means this place is pretty safe. I like safe neighborhoods. The tenants love safe neighborhood. And as you can see, some tenants have put out cameras also out there, personal cameras. That gives it another angle of safety. The one thing I noticed while I was coming here, there's a train station right next door, and I'll stop by on the way back. There are people who park their cars at the train stations and then take the train, ride it all the way to downtown, because parking in downtown is super expensive. That's about it.
Now that we understand the concept of a snowball, we know that snowball takes into consideration the cash flow, the equity, the debt pay down, and the reinvestment strategies. We also walked around a neighborhood where we saw so many investment properties that come up. You buy one, you want a snowball effect, you buy the second one, you buy the third one, and it keeps rolling like that in that neighborhood. Now it's time for us to plug in some numbers into an Excel so that we understand how the mathematics works behind it. I already have an Excel prepared and I'll share it with you right now. This is the Excel that I use. It's a very simple Excel. You can also use it. Snowball is a combination of cash flow plus equity plus down payment plus reinvestment. These are the four factors what a snowball is all about. Let's assume, just like the property that I showed you earlier, you buy a property for $150,000 wherever you live or wherever you want to invest, no problem. A down payment of $30,000, which is 20% of the purchase price. And for simple math, let's just keep the cash flow to $250, which is not a lot, it's not less, but it's just about average. This is what you get. Our yearly cash flow would be $3,000. You buy 3 such properties and then your yearly cash flow would be $9,000. Is it a lot? Maybe, maybe not. But what we'll do is we'll save this money. Why would we do that? Because we want to buy property number 4. That's what snowball is all about. Using the money from your previous properties, collect it, save it, and then use it as a down payment for the next property. Property number 4, again, you buy another one for $150,000, and these are all just example properties. They could be more, they could be less, depending on where you are or how you're investing. Again, 20% down payment would be $30,000. And how long will it take? Let's open a calculator to do the math for us. Okay, we have $9,000 coming in from 3 properties. This is the yearly cash flow, and we need $30,000 as a down payment for property number 4. So let's do the math now. $30,000, that's the down payment that we need. Divided divided by 9,000, and that gives me 3.33 years. This is how long I have to save my cash flow from the first 3 properties so that I can use that money to pay towards property number 4 as a down payment. I don't think so it's going to be that long because the rents usually go up and the equity is also growing, but be safer side, we'll just say 3.33 years. That is what we calculate, and that is what I have in the Excel also. Here's an exercise that we want every one of us to do together. How long will it take for us to buy property number 5? Again, for example, this property is also $150,000. The down payment required will be $30,000. So let's do the math. You have $9,000 coming in from the first 3 properties, and you bought your property number 4, almost the same cash flow of $250. So I'll assume that the cash flow per year is again $3,000. That makes it $9,000 from the first 3 properties, another $3,000 from property number 4, and that makes it a total of $12,000. Awesome, right? You see how your cash flow increased from 9 to 12? That's the snowball effect. Now, how many years will I have to wait for me to buy property number 5? I have a cash flow of $12,000 per year. Let's do the math. The down payment is again going to be $30,000. So 30,000 divided by 12,000. Boom, 2.5 years. You see how the number has gone down? The number has gone down from 3.3 to 2.5. That means your snowball is getting bigger and bigger, which is good. Property number 6, property number 7, property number 8, the number of years will start reducing drastically. And for you to enjoy all of this, for you to see the magic, you have to be in business for those many number of years. If you're not in the business, if you quit, then all of this is pointless. That's the message. Snowball is magic. It does its magic by using cash flow, equity, down payments, and reinvestments, but it takes time. So you have to be in the business. You can't just leave it. Right? That's about it. Thank you.
All of this requires you to have a good credit score. Watch my video here on how to get that great score. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself tonight. If you bought your first rental property today, what would you need to make that property help you to buy the second one? And once you own 2, what would it take to get to 3, and 3 to 5, 5 to 10? Because the goal isn't simply to own more houses. The goal is to create a system where your existing assets make it easier to acquire the next asset. That's how the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's how a small portfolio can eventually become a serious source of wealth. And that is how I want you to think about real estate investing. Don't chase the number of properties. Build the machine that makes the next property possible. If you found this video useful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. And if you're starting your real estate investing journey, watch my next video here, because I'm going to break down how to look for amazing properties out of town if where you live is super expensive. So until next time, this is Vikram signing off. Good luck, goodbye, and go start building your own snowball. Let's start a revolution. Long live freedom. Freedom from poverty, freedom from bad bosses, freedom from anything that stops us from building our business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.